Hello and good morning, or I guess good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from across the world. This is the 11th Alta Labs Live. We hold these monthly. My name is Chase Harrison. I'm the CEO of Alta Labs. And with me today, I have my co-host, Jeff Hansen, our CTO. And then we have a very, very special guest, Keefe John, who's the CEO of EthoPlex. And we'd like to give him a special thank you and for taking time out of his schedule to be with us. We're going to have an opportunity to talk to Keith, hit some questions at him at the very end of this Alta Labs live event. So very excited to have him here. And again, thank you, Keith, for being with us.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, we want to have more guests here. I think it's fun to hear outsider's perspective, right? Rather than just two bald guys talking about our products all the time. Love to hear things right from the front line, from the real world. So it'll be a good time. Before we actually get a chance to talk to Keith, we do have a couple housekeeping items. Generally, as a general reminder, these are recorded, right? So if you have missed this one or any of our past 10 Alta Labs live streams and you'd like to go back and take a look at them, you can find them on YouTube. You can find them on Facebook. I believe you can also find them on LinkedIn and Instagram, also recorded there. So you can go back and take a look at those. We also do open it up for live Q&A at the very end. So if you will submit your questions via any of your platforms, so if you're tuning in from YouTube, for example, just in the comment section on the YouTube video or the YouTube live stream, that will feed right here. And myself, Keith, Jeff, will go ahead and get to your questions just in the order that they received. If for whatever reason we miss one of your questions, it's not intentional. We're very sorry about that. We'd invite you to email sales@alta.inc and we'd make sure your questions get answered just as soon as possible. Also, we will be doing some giveaways again during the very end of our live stream today. In order to be eligible for those, we need you to just email your full name, first and last name, to social@alta.inc. And then at the very end, we'll do a drawing. And you do have to be present to win. So we need you to stick out for the entire live stream. Once again, we've got a Alta Labs t-shirt up for grabs. We've got a brand new purple one that we're going to start taking to our events that we'll talk to you about here in a second. Alta Labs hat. And then we also have one of our AP6Ws up for grabs again. So make sure you get those emails to social@alta.inc. The next item of business, we have an announcement for our August install of the month. We have a PDM Automation in Australia. We'd like to say congratulations to PDM Automation. For that, we will get your award out to you this week with some shirts and some hats. For those of you who are interested in what that means, we have a really cool mountain type acrylic plaque that puts your company name on there, the month, and install the month. And generally, the way that those are awarded is our sales and our marketing team discuss things like, amount of Alta Labs being installed, how active you are on social media, and if you're active in our community, right? And generally, if you check all those boxes, our sales team and our marketing team catches that, and your name gets submitted for to be eligible for install of the month. So. Also, we've got some events coming up that we'd love to invite you out to. Most of them, we will have some of our brand new products at, which includes our AP6W, our brand new 48 port switch, our brand new aggregation or core switch, the S12. We've got CEDIA coming up in September. That's September 4th through the 6th in Denver. We sent a newsletter out about that yesterday. If you're planning to be in Denver or if you're going to be in the area, you can use our registration link and get in for free to come take a look at the products that we have on display there. Also, some of the new features that Jeff's going to talk to us about here in just a moment. We also will be at the ADI show in the Netherlands, in Europe only, on September 11th. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll have all of our new products there. We'll have some of them, but Philip from our sales team is running point on that show. And then our very own Jeff Hansen will be a keynote speaker in Xamarin Week in Zambia, actually that first full week of September as well. So if you happen to be tuning in from Zambia, make sure you go attend Xamarin Week and you get a chance to hear Jeff speak. And then finally, we will be at WISPA Palooza in October. That's in Las Vegas, the 13th to the 16th of October specifically. And we will, in fact, have all of our new products at that show. So we'd love to have you come check us out at WISPA Palooza. And that's pretty much it for the housekeeping items. I want to go ahead and turn some time over to Jeff really quick. We've got some really cool things that he's just deployed inside of our ecosystem, he and his team. We'd like to walk through that, and then we'll go ahead and get into the primary reason why you are out here. We want to hear from Keefe. So, Jeff, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Chase. As we usually do at our all calls, we are going to release some new features. We've already released the real-time logs feature, and I'm going to go over a new feature called our floor plan or designer that is yet to be released. But yeah, as Chase stated, hopefully by the end of this week, we can get it out there. So I just wanted to go over real-time logs real quick. So let's say you have a client and their device isn't connecting reliably to the network. You'll get a call like that often. Sometimes it's difficult to figure out exactly what's going on. Now, Alta Labs platform does offer real-time statistics, graphs. There's a lot of information about every single device on the dashboard, but sometimes you really just need to get in there and see exactly what the devices, the Alta Labs devices, the network infrastructure is seeing itself, relating to those MAC addresses and those IP addresses. So to do that, it's pretty easy to get to. You go to our events button up here, and this is where all of the events are stored. So anything relating to IPS, IDS, if you get a request for somebody to get onto a guest Wi-Fi network, if the schedule turns off and you want your child to be able to request access, that'll come into here as well. And then at the very top, we added this button here called logs. And what this is it will search all of the devices that are deployed on this site currently for a specific string. So let's say I want to look for disassociate. I can do that. And you can also do regular expressions. So if you go to help.alta.inc, we have a little bit more information on exactly how to do like some of the typical regular expression searches that you might want to do in our network infrastructure here. But let's just say we want to look for disassociate. You can just do that, and it'll find all of the strings on all of the devices in real time. It'll also show them as they come in. So let's say you have a device that's roaming around from AP to AP. You'll actually see it disassociate from the old AP. And if you search for associate, you can also see it associate to the new AP. So you can see both of those. So that's very powerful, obviously, for looking at the logs and seeing exactly what's going on. If maybe there's a device that's like pinging back and forth between two different APs or having a hard time connecting, this will also tell you if the AP thinks that the client is using the incorrect password, an incorrect PSK. Obviously, it's not guaranteed to catch that based on how WPA2 PSK was implemented, but in many cases, it'll actually be able to tell you that as well. And so that's something you can, an actionable item that you can go and say, hey, you need to double check your password that you typed in there. You can also use regular expressions. So just as a simple example, let's say I want to look at all the associated strings, but not the disassociated. So you can actually do that by using regular expression with a /b, and that will make sure that the string is not doesn't have anything before or after it. So you'll see here, if we search for associated, it was showing all the disassociated events as well. If you add the /b and make it a regular expression, it'll only show you just the associations. So very powerful, a lot of different things that you can do with regular expressions. You can actually search for specific timestamps, search on specific devices, and everything is real and live, real time. Another really cool thing that you can do, you can actually save the logs. So let's say I want to download everything that's been presented here, and I want to analyze that in some other log analysis tool, or do some other analysis on it with a custom tool. You can just download it, and it'll download it to your computer. You can integrate it with something else to do analysis on that. The other way that you can get to the logs is you can actually go to a device, and let's say you know the MAC address or the host name or the IP address of the device that's having problems. You can come in here, and we'll just look up this one real quick. So you open the device card, the wireless device card. You can tell that it's wireless because it has a signal here, and it has an AP for the link. You go into info, and if you want to search for just that MAC address, you can click on this button, and it searches the whole network for just that device. And so you can see that it was recently disassociated from this AP. If you want to search for just that MAC address, or that IP address, you go up here and you enter the IP address instead, and it'll search all the devices for that. It looks like by default, the logs aren't very deep on the devices. And that's the thing, is what this does is it searches all the devices that are actually on the network, all the system logs. And so you'll find that if you're looking for something that happened maybe half a day ago or a day ago, you may not be able to find it. And so we have the option to be able to extend that longer if you want to be able to search for something longer. You just go to your site settings under advanced settings, and you go to this persistent logging option right here. And let's say you want to extend the logs that are captured by the access points so that they last at least a day. It depends totally on your environment, but if you do like 2 or 3 megabytes, that might be enough. And what that will do is it'll enable the persistent logging so that those logs are kept longer. And then that enables you to be able to find those events that maybe happened half a day or a day. You can go as high as 50 megabytes on here, which could be months. Just depends on the usage of your network. APs and routers have more storage, so they're able to collect more. Switches don't usually have as much in their system logs, but you can still enable that persistent logging on those as well. So that's our first feature that I wanted to quickly go over. That just launched a couple weeks ago. So that's really helpful for debugging, diagnosing things in real time. The next feature that I want to show you, and I'm going to close this screen. So hopefully this works. I'm going to open up a new window. One second. And here we go. All right. So this is our floor plan feature. This helps you design a network. A lot of times when customers come to us or a distributor, they want to know, how many access points, how many switches, what to install before they actually go and deploy it. And so we have a new design tool that you can go into. This should be released this week or next, but it's called the floor plan. We may put it in under the map, but right now it's under here as the floor plan. So what it does is you can take a PDF. So let's upload a PDF here. You give your site a name, and it uploads the PDF and does some really basic analysis on it. What you do have to do is you have to set the scale on the map. That's one of the first things that you're going to want to do when you upload. So over here, we're going to set the scale to 6.27 meters right here. And the scale is obviously important because, you have to determine how far the signals are going to go based on the transmit power of the access points and the material that's used in the walls. The other really cool feature that I'm going to show you is you can obviously draw walls manually. That's very simple, straightforward. I'm going to show you how you can actually import the walls automatically, though. So let's say we know that this layer is all concrete. So you come in here and you choose this layer. And obviously, a lot of it depends on the quality of the PDFs that come into this. If you're using AutoCAD or something nice that can break apart those layers, it makes it a lot easier to select the different layers and then automatically convert those into walls.
That's nice.
So yeah, this PDF has the layers defined. We'll go in here, concrete, and so you can see there that it detected all those walls. And let's select the next layer. Import these walls here. We'll say these are concrete. Well, let's say they're brick. And you can see what the attenuation is that it's applying really easily right here. So the 2 gigahertz attenuation is always going to be about half the attenuation of 5 gigahertz, just based on the wavelength. And then you can also set the thickness of the wall as well. Say you have thicker walls or thinner walls, it automatically adjusts the attenuation as the rays pass through those walls when you import it. Okay, so we're going to import this wall. And then you can go in here and manually adjust things. You'll see that it's never like 100% perfect. A lot of it depends on the quality of the PDF that comes in. But it usually does a lot better and a lot faster job than I would do manually. So it's a much better starting point than having to do everything from scratch. Once you have your walls imported, you can come in here and let's say you can import current devices that are on this site. So these are devices that are active right now, and it'll take their current settings. You can also import planned devices. So let's say I have an AP6 Pro, and I think I want to put it right here. Let's add another one. So if you want to add another one, you click AP6 Pro again, put it in here. And then you can actually go in here and set a bunch of the settings. So right now we're looking at 2.4 gigahertz. We can change it to 5 gigahertz to see what the range is on that. If you want to hover over a certain location on the map, you can see in the bottom right corner of the screen, it's telling me that the signal right there is minus 61 dBm. As I come over here, it's minus 73, and there's no signal here where it's blank. So yeah, I mean, this is a really nice tool for automatically importing all your walls, figuring out how many access points you need on your site. And then you can it creates a wish list that you can email yourself. And you can take that email and send it to a distributor for making your order and getting your site ready to go. So yeah, hopefully if you have any questions about this or our logging, our real-time logs feature that we just released, you can ask them right now, or obviously, as Chase said, you can email sales@alta.inc those questions.
This is great. Thanks, Jeff. Now, I know some site planners can't necessarily export. You generally have to take a screenshot of that. You mind talking a little bit about our plans for that?
Yeah, so right now with our first launch, you'll need to do like a screenshot. Sometimes that's okay for planners, and honestly, we do that a lot. But we're going to also add the feature and the ability to export to a PDF where you can quickly download it. You can map out the 2 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, eventually 6 gigahertz, obviously when we release our Wi-Fi 7 at the end of the year. But you can import the APs, generate those maps, and send that PDF to an installer or your installer so that they can make sure that the wires are ran to the right places.
Perfect. And then that wish list item, sorry, somebody stepped in my office. Did you touch on that already? The fact that you can send that order off to like a distributor, for example?
Yeah, when you hit send order, it just emails it to your account. When you log into the Alta Labs platform, you have to use an email. So it just sends it to your email, really easy, straightforward. And then you can forward that email to the distributor or anyone else that would need to know what devices you're going to install at the site.
By quantity, yeah, it's super slick. And in true Alta Labs fashion, we will not be charging for this feature. This will be free.
Yeah, that's something that's really exciting. Even with the automated drawing walls feature, it's something that is really important. We want to make sure that everybody gets their design right, and so yeah, we wanted to release this for free. So yeah, really excited.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, if anybody has any questions about the site planner or logging, feel free to jump those into or drop those into your feeds, right, with whatever platform you're tuning in to us from. We also did just get kind of a real-time notification from StreamYard that Facebook is having some problems, our integration with Facebook. So if you're logging with Facebook, maybe consider moving to a different platform. Also, it will be recorded and posted on Facebook later, so you can always tune in later if you're having a hard time with your link. But anyways, without any further ado, we'd like to get to our discussion with Keefe. So again, Keefe, thank you very much for taking time out of your day, being with us. If you wouldn't mind, maybe just kind of start things out. Would you mind introducing yourself and a little bit about your background, your company, and your role with WISPA? And then we'll just kind of take it from there.
Sure. Yes. Thanks for having me. So I'm Keefe. I'm the CEO of EthoPlex, and we are a broadband company, an ISP located in Germantown, Wisconsin. And we started in 2004, so this is our 21st year. And we provide fixed wireless internet to both rural areas, suburban areas, and urban areas. And the last several years, we've been really focusing more on the MDU market, providing broadband and managed Wi-Fi services to apartment buildings. Yeah. Also, I'm the vice chair of WISPA. And if you have never heard of WISPA, it's the Wireless Internet Service Providers Association. It's a trade group that represents smaller independent broadband companies all across the country, and also some MSPs and MDU providers. And what WISPA does is a lot of the efforts are focused on advocacy and policy. So, for example, WISPA played a big role in 6 gigahertz and making sure that was available for Wi-Fi, but also for outdoor fixed wireless. And WISPA is always monitoring regulations to try to keep them fair, try to get more spectrum for Wi-Fi and fixed wireless, and just continually monitoring what the regulators are up to.
Got it. That's awesome. So for all 21 years, you've been an ISP as well as. Yeah.
It's interesting. When we first started in 2004, we were an IT consulting company or an MSP. Mm-hmm. And over the years, we sort of fell into being a broadband company.
Got it.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So we were an MSP. We were doing work for small businesses, for schools, other organizations. And we ended up getting contracted by another internet service provider who was local. And we were running their network and doing their installs. And one day they came to us and said, it's not working for us anymore. We want to sell you the ISP. So we acquired it, and they had like 3 or 4 towers with fixed wireless equipment on it. And I guess we became an ISP overnight. And then we just slowly expanded it.
Yeah.
And currently, we cover about the eastern half of Wisconsin.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Most of the eastern side of Wisconsin. That's impressive. Yeah. So obviously, coming from the wireless ISP space, one of the big questions I've always had and continue to try and figure out. I'm sure a lot of our audience probably has a similar question. Is fixed wireless, right? Line of sight, point to point, point to multi-point versus lots of push into fiber, right? Government that's trying to roll out some infrastructure grants, right? Mm-hmm. You mind taking a minute and talking about what you're seeing in that regard? Is fiber going to eventually take over the wireless ISP side, or is wireless ISP here to stay?
I think all technologies are here to stay. It's the right tool for the right job.
Sure.
If you look at the broadband market, what's interesting, and I was actually surprised by it, is companies like T-Mobile are actually the fastest growing ISPs. And they are using 5G, they're using fixed wireless. So it's interesting. I think there's a role to play for all technologies, even satellite like Starlink. Sometimes you see people buying Starlink even when they have like fiber or cable available. The consumer choice is interesting. So, fixed wireless for us is really good in those rural areas where it could be really expensive to build out fiber. Some of the most remote locations, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars per house to extend those fiber lines to. So it's just not cost feasible. There are government subsidy programs that are working on getting it out there, but, it remains to be seen if it'll actually, connect every location.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We also use fixed wireless to offer more competition. We can go head to head with the cable companies offering gigabit fixed wireless using millimeter wave or 60 gigahertz. Mm-hmm. We can offer it at a lower price.
Oh, wow.
And my guess is you have a lot of customers who need more than one connection as well, just for redundancy. And so.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of work in the enterprise space where, let's say, business already has 1 or even 2 fiber connections, but they're concerned about having another type of diversity that's not, terrestrial, not in the ground. A lot of times, we've even seen this on our own network, multiple fiber providers. That fiber sometimes is in the same conduit or the same manhole or the same telephone pole.
Oh, geez.
They cross paths. And, we've had one fiber cut take down multiple carriers that we thought were diverse. Wow. And, then we found out, we're actually using the same piece of fiber for this, small part of the route. Oops.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is fun. A little surprise. So, and Keefe, so once you deploy, like an internet connection to a building or a residence or an MDU, are you still taking that connection and bring it and kind of spreading that out through the building with router switches, firewalls, or you guys stop at the edge and hand that off to like another MSP now?
No, for our MDU Solutions, we're an all-in-one provider. So we do everything from the connectivity to the building all the way to customer service for the end user. So to get to these properties, we'll use a combination of fiber. We'll rent dark fiber or rent a fiber circuit to a property. Sometimes we'll do fixed wireless to the property from one of our tower sites, or we can even link multiple properties together if they're close by. And then sometimes we do both for diversity. So we bring it into the building, and then we generally like to do Cat 6 to every unit and an AP in every unit. Now, that doesn't always work, especially with older buildings. So we have to get creative, doing maybe retrofit cabling, maybe APs outside of the building or in the hallways, or sometimes we might have to run fiber.
Got it. So why do you feel like you have been successful in the MDU space? What is the big pull for like an MDU owner, right, to bring you in versus just have you drop off a bunch of independent internet connections and let the tenants deal with just you, right, or a bunch of independent like modem, router, firewall boxes in each of their units?
Sure. I mean, there's a couple different issues there. I mean, number one, now tenants, especially younger ones, the young professionals, they see broadband as a utility and they really want to include it as an amenity, just like water.
Sure.
So more and more building owners are wanting to provide a high quality broadband connection and a Wi-Fi network in their properties as an amenity included in rent. And the building owners also monetize it. So they're increasing their net operating income from the property by offering the amenity. The other thing to look at is in a typical apartment building, let's say you have a couple providers, it's 100 units. You have 100 different Wi-Fi routers from, tons of different manufacturers, tons of different channel sizes, all different settings. You have 100 SSIDs. So when you open up your phone, you have to scroll to find the one to connect to. It's just an RF nightmare. It's not very user friendly. So by using something like Alta Labs and AltaPass, you can have a nice, clean, single SSID for the whole property. All your access points are centrally managed. They're talking to each other. They're doing RF management. So you just have a way better user experience, not only from a UX, but also performance.
Agreed.
Are you finding that a lot of MDU developers are getting rid of Ethernet cables in units, or do they still all provide those at least?
It depends. It depends on how much they're willing to put into cabling. Some of these projects are on tight budgets. Sometimes they're just doing a single Cat 6 to the unit. Other times they're doing a Cat 6 to the unit and then, from the units MDF into a couple rooms, maybe the living room or a bedroom. That's why the on wall or your wall mount AP6 is really a game changer. Having the ports on the bottom, not only does it let you connect up other jacks in the unit, if there are some, it also gives flexibility. So sometimes people just want a wired connection. It's just, for whatever reason. So they can still,
gaming, it's usually very helpful.
Right. They can just plug into the bottom and still have that wired connection.
Got it. Well, it's interesting you say that. I completely agree with you, right? From a user experience perspective, and a lot of these MDU projects that we see are us getting brought into, right, as we partner with companies like EthoPlex, it's also more about the experience, right? There's like a campus environment almost where there's often probably at least a gym, maybe a pool. Sure. We've seen podcast studios, dog wash stations. I mean, we've seen libraries, right? It's pretty interesting. Some of the things that are going into these, apartment complexes, condominium complexes, and generally, right, the old school way of doing things is, people have their own internet in their house and then they get in those common areas and there may not even be an internet connection. But now, thanks to AltaPass and, the topology that you are pushing, right, within EthoPlex, those tenants can now roam throughout the entire campus, right, or entire property and keep that same private subnet with whatever bandwidth package that they're paying for. And so the tenant then is, ultimately, hopefully more satisfied with where they're living. They like the fact that there's great internet all throughout the building. So
yeah, that's exactly how we deploy it. In a typical setup, you might have your SSID for your unit, and then you have, SSIDs for a guest network or the pool or the gym. We configure it with AltaPass. So it's the same SSID everywhere, and you can roam, like you said, to, outdoor common areas, the pool, the gym, and you're still on your local network. And that's been a big selling point for some of the properties that we work with.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Nice. I know you talked about 6 gigahertz earlier. Are you seeing a lot of adoption of 6 gigahertz in the consumer access space as well as the fixed wireless space? And are there any hurdles? Obviously we want to see more spectrum. It makes everybody's lives better. But are you seeing any hurdles in that deployment?
There's a few manufacturers who have 6 gigahertz outdoor point to multipoint out.
Yeah.
I think those products are still sort of in their infancy. They still need more work.
Okay.
But I think we'll see more and more as the months and years go by. On the Wi-Fi side, a lot of players have Wi-Fi 7 out. Mm-hmm. Although, what's interesting is when we look at our networks in particularly MDUs, we still see a lot of people on Wi-Fi 5
mm-hmm.
and not even Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 7. So it seems like people's devices are still a few years behind.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to take some time for that to all catch up.
Mm-hmm. But we're excited for Wi-Fi 7 using 6 gigahertz because we can get gigabit speeds in the units.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be a huge selling point. It's a kind of difficult to get true gigabit using 5 gigahertz and Wi-Fi 6 right now, unless you're using huge channels, which is problematic in large buildings with lots of APs.
Yeah, generally not recommended for high density deployment.
Yeah, we generally stick with 80 megahertz channels.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, we could get faster speeds going 160 or 320. It just doesn't work for our application.
Yeah.
Plus, that it sometimes can introduce user experience issues if their devices are not happy with those larger channel widths. So we feel like 80 is a good, perfect medium.
Makes sense.
Yeah, agreed. See the same thing. We know some manufacturers will actually try and force the AP to negotiate down to like an 80 if you're up at 160 or further. So I love it. Very, very wise. Now, Keith, to kind of pivot just a little bit, I know obviously in conjunction with MDUs, you're also a big proponent of carrier offload. And actually, to be completely transparent with everybody, one of the big reasons that Alta Labs is so heavy in carrier offload is because of Keefe. He's been a big kind of guide and good voice for an advocate, right, for carrier offload for us. And that's allowed us to really kind of see the light ourselves. But Keith, maybe if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes and talk a little bit more about carrier offload and how you're leveraging that in your business. Is that an MDUs or not? And is that going to stay around in your business, or do you feel like that's kind of run its course? Anything you feel like sharing?
Yeah, thanks. So, we've been involved in carrier offload for a while now, probably a couple of years. We first started out doing some deployments with Helium, then we were doing some deployments with XNet, who you guys are partnered with, and others. We like it. It's a selling point for customers of ours, especially, public places like restaurants, hotels, parks. We also deployed in the MDUs, but that can get a little tricky because some of the carriers don't necessarily want residential locations. They want commercial locations. So I would say the public spaces like malls, parks, restaurants, things of that nature are the best bang for your buck when deploying carrier offload.
Yeah, agreed. And it's interesting, actually. We've for those maybe that don't know what carrier offload is, if they're tuning in. So the idea, right, in a nutshell, is that most major carriers, all but a few, are interested in leveraging Wi-Fi to offload the data demand on their towers, and that's done right on the back end. We've done quite a bit of heavy lifting with those carriers, specifically through partners like XNet and Wi-Fi. That basically handle the offloading itself, right? Seeing that Alta Labs access points are properly configured, can then be roamed onto without any sort of interaction with the, for example, like an AT&T customer or a T-Mobile customer or whoever is the offloading partner, right? Often, as long as they're within range of that access point, those devices are encouraged to join that Wi-Fi so that they can remove the demand from the tower. And generally, those carriers, right, are anxious enough for that to happen where they'll actually monetize or pay you on a per gigabyte basis to allow that phone, right, or tablet that has a subscription plan to get onto your access points.
Yeah, I would say it's actually fun to do, especially with Alta. You can go into the cloud and enable XNet, and a few minutes later, you might see all these cell phones start connecting to your network.
Yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully it's monetized and you get paid out for it.
For sure. Yeah, and we have XNet's got a couple of ways you can get paid out there. Wi-Fi has some alternatives too. We have, if you go in there into the SSID settings, you can also add Alta Boost, right? And that's another way that you can get in and see immediate, offloading traffic. I've got it turned on in my house, just Alta Boost, and it's interesting to see as people walk by my house, they'll jump on for a couple of seconds. Now I don't see any money from that, but you mentioned something, Keefe, I wanted to circle back to, right? In the MDU space, it's kind of obviously depends, right? Higher saturation environments, especially if you've got an MDU maybe where it's got some coffee shops or shopping center below, right. There's an opportunity for monetization there. But especially the users that are tuning in here, right? Generally, everyone here is technical and probably has their own businesses, right, where they're installing Alta Labs. But in the last couple of weeks, what's been interesting is we've taken the carrier offload to some restaurants, right? We're working with our local Chick-fil-A operator to do some proof of concept stuff and see if this works. And we've got a retailer, right? It's a company by the name of Stance that has Alta deployed in their locations. And we were talking with various hoteliers and other restaurants, and they're not even really that interested in the dollars, right? So the dollars can actually be kept by the MSPs, right? Someone like an EthoPlex, in return for managing the APs and the whole ecosystem. But like a Chick-fil-A, for example, they're really interested in their customer experience. What we've learned is they want us in the app ordering food on the way into the store. And in some rural environments, well, actually, even in most of Utah, right, is like premier offload space. I'm sure you see the same thing in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. The data connectivity is just not great. So in order to maximize the customer experience, they want to be able to say, hey, you're already on Wi-Fi even before your phone's out of your pocket. So you're in the Chick-fil-A app, or you're in the Stance app, or you're in the gas station app, whatever app it is. That way you're ordering easier, your experience is better, you're browsing social media, your dwell time's longer. So maybe you're sticking around long enough where you want an ice cream, or you want to be able to order that pair of socks that maybe they don't have in stock. Or another great example, actually, we're working with a couple of grocery store chains. They'll do those digital coupons, but you have to clip them before you go to the register. But if you're in one of those Faraday cages, one of those big metal buildings, you can't clip any coupons before you get to the register. So you're frustrated and you end up missing out on the deal. But with carrier offload now, suddenly that provides a very elegant solution where a lot of times users won't even realize they're sitting on your Wi-Fi network. And as an MSP, you're able to capitalize on that, and sometimes often hundreds of dollars per site, maybe even thousands of dollars per site if the traffic's right.
Yeah, we've seen the exact same phenomenon where businesses, they're way more concerned about just good connectivity to their customers. They don't really want to be paid out on it. So it's a really good opportunity for us. We can take some equipment, we'll deploy it in their location for free, and then hopefully long-term we'll monetize that and get our ROI on the equipment.
That's a great way to go. It's a great way to go. And I think that my understanding, and Keefe, I'm curious, I mean, as far as staying power, right? There's no push to do away with carrier offloading. It's quite the opposite, right? We actually have more carriers trying to get into the space. I mean, do you have any sentiment on that or any feeling on that?
As mobile demand increases, I think we'll see more and more offload. Some of the offload players have public charts on how much they're offloading, and you see the chart just go up and up and up and up every day, and more people are connecting to the offload networks. So, it's really costly for cell carriers to put more towers up And it seems right now a lot of them are a little CapEx constrained, so they're not all that excited to deploy more sites. So this gives them additional coverage for no additional CapEx.
Yeah, it's true. If there's no demand in the local area, they don't have to pay anything out. But if there is, rather than spend a couple $1 million on a tower and a fiber build out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, carrier offloading in general, it's come a long way over the past 10 years. It's definitely easier than ever to connect a mobile device because a lot of carriers support it. It's also easier, like if you use an Alta Labs access point, to just turn it on, right? Alta Boost is a single click. We work with partners like XNet, Wi-Fi, single click to enable it. Super easy to turn on. But even in addition to that, there's other hurdles I think that have, it's to a good point so far, but I think we can do still a lot better with the statistics that we're sharing, not just with our platform, the Alta Labs, the dashboard statistics, but getting those statistics to the carriers. Ultimately, they want to know what the signal strength is, what rates are being used, different statistics that they don't have, and there are proposals that they've worked on to get more data. And the more data they have, I think the more likely they are to want to keep pushing this, and the more they're likely to pay out even more for quality connections they know are good.
Not only quality connections, but quality locations. I see the market moving toward getting paid more for a better location. If you have a really popular mall, or if you have control of the Wi-Fi in an airport, or a music venue or festival grounds, those are really, really good money makers for offload.
It's true. Actually, I was talking to an MSP that's based here in Utah, but he goes all over, starting now, right? He goes all over the US, and he will deploy in corn mazes through September, October, November. And he was telling me some of the dollars he's bringing in, and my jaw hit the floor. I mean, you think about that, and you're going from a farmer's field who sees like 0 cell phones for 95% of the year, and then for a period of 45 or 60 days, hundreds of thousands of people are coming through the farm field. So you got to think carriers are just loving that guy and are willing to pay whatever because their network's not ready for that.
For sure.
So, anyways, Keefe, so if we're just forward-looking, before I ask that last question, just general reminder, anybody who has questions for Keefe or Alta Labs or anything else, please submit them through YouTube or Facebook. Just submit them right into the text bubbles there, and that'll get fed into our platform. Seen some good questions come in. We will get to those here shortly. And then also a reminder on the giveaway, if you will send an email with your full name, social@alta.inc. At the very end of the Q&A, we'll go ahead and give out a shirt, a hat, and an AP6W. So don't forget to do that. Take a minute, jump in your email, and get that done. But anyways, Keefe, I know we try to keep these for about an hour, but I do have one more question for you, just kind of a forward-looking statement, right? Or opinion as far as what you see on the horizon for your business and ISPs, specifically wireless ISPs. What do you see in the MDU space? Is there anything that keeps you up at night, or anything that you're really excited about that you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience?
Well, for our particular business, we really see the MDU space as a huge growth market. This country has a housing shortage, especially workforce housing, and there's a huge push to develop more properties, and especially those type of properties really want broadband and managed Wi-Fi as an amenity. So it's a good opportunity, not only for us, but anybody else in the MSP or MDU space. And also, I'm excited about your products. The new 48 ports PoE switch is awesome. I think I mentioned before, I've always been frustrated at PoE switches that don't have PoE on every port.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No offense to older products, but it's like wasting ports. So that one is a game changer for us, especially because when we design our properties, we get involved with the construction phase of the property very early. So with a 48 port switch, we can now consolidate MDFs. Instead of having one per floor, let's do 2 or 3 floors per MDF. Up to maybe 48 ports. So we only need one switch instead of 2 or 3 switches. So it reduces our costs. It reduces the complexity of our network. We have less MDFs to deal with. Overall, it's a great thing.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for the plug on the S48, Keefe. I appreciate that. We're excited for it too. That's just hit the market in the last couple of weeks, and we're already seeing them activate, come online, and get shipped and sold. So very excited about that.
As far as other forward-looking things, Wi-Fi 7 is great. 6 gigahertz will be a game changer. Even though managed Wi-Fi networks are really good right now, 5 gigahertz can still be challenging in some areas, because of other people's networks or outdoor networks. But 6 gigahertz is really a greenfield. It's very underutilized right now, so we can get larger channels, cleaner channels, and ultimately faster speeds and better performance. So that's huge.
Agreed.
Also, on point-to-point wireless and point-to-multipoint, 60 gigahertz continues to evolve. 80 gigahertz. And we are deploying point-to-point links now that do 10 gigabits per second. People are coming out with 20 gigabit per second links. It's just crazy how the technology has evolved over the past few years.
Yeah.
What bands are you using mostly now for new installs?
To get the speeds we need, we are primarily using 60 gigahertz and 80 gigahertz.
80. Cool.
That's great. Well,
although, there are some people working on point-to-point solutions in 6 gigahertz that will do over a gig or maybe multi-gig. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a fun time to be in our industry for sure. From our perspective, right, bandwidth demands are going to continue to increase, right? I think you see that with AI, right, and even AI at the edge, AI in the home now. That's the last however long it's been done in data centers, but that's very cost prohibitive by itself, right? Between power and real estate, and so we're seeing a push to get that into, believe it or not, even appliances, right? Routers, APs, and so the need for Wi-Fi 7, 6 gigahertz. While also still being developed, right, and improved, being able to do multi-gig down to those client devices is going to be super important. It's going to be high demand. It already is, right? I think it's kind of there. It's coming in. So something certainly to pay attention to.
Yeah, and circling back on like AI and IoT, back to MDUs, a lot of properties are now wanting to deploy more technology into their properties. They want, smart thermostats, smart locks, water meters, any other number of technology products that rely on Wi-Fi. So in a lot of these new properties, they need a managed Wi-Fi network in the whole building anyways. So if they're going to do that, we might as well provide service to all the tenants in a bulk solution.
Yeah, agreed. And monetize it, like you said. That has been a huge thing for landlords we see is that, they'll charge a premium for bandwidth, right? And suddenly now that's an ROI engine, right? They're able to capitalize on the service and the products that you're offering. So it's a good story for sure. All right. Well, before we jump into Q&A, Jeff, do you have any other questions for Keefe? Or Keefe, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about or anything you'd like our audience to know?
I can't think of anything yet, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay, sounds great. Jeff, anything else you want to ask Keefe before we kick over?
Good. Let's jump into Q&A.
Fantastic.
I have a question for the Q&A.
Yeah, fire away. You get to go first. Preferential.
Okay, awesome. For the new mapping feature, will it support multiple stories? Like if you have a 2-story house or a 2-story building, and how does that work?
So you would need to do that as 2 different floors. It does support uploading multiple floors, but with the caveat that they won't impact each other's traces, right? So, and that's for the first launch. It's more simplistic, but you can upload multiple floors, go up and down on them, but the signal strength doesn't actually impact other floors from one to another.
Yeah, good question. I love it. Thanks, Keefe. A friendly reminder, if you want to plug those questions into the comment section of whatever platform you're joining in, they'll aggregate right into our dashboard here, and we'll put them up on the screen, get them answered. Also, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and submit your full name to Social Alta Link in order to be eligible for the giveaway. So scroll all the way up to the top here, and we'll get started. Not a question, but just friendly check-in. Our friend Todd Vasco saying hello to Keefe.
Hello.
That. And then Michael Traven, thanks for being here as well. Looks like he's one of our new influencers. Like to say thanks for being here. Looks like you got a new video that's going to drop. Next question from user Texpresso. Thanks for being here. Can we please see logs for firewall rules? It is extremely beneficial to be able to see if rules are being hit or not. Yeah,
so we've actually been working on that very recently, and should be able to launch that probably this week. We know that hasn't been the most requested feature, but it is very straightforward to implement and can be very useful. So yeah, that's coming out real soon.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks to Texpresso. Next question from Matt Frommer. When will the public be able to use this feature? I'm assuming that's the floor planner.
Yeah, like we said a couple times, it should be either this week or early next week. That's the plan right now. Yeah.
All right, let's see. Same question from Kobe. I think that's the case. Kobe, if that's not what you're asking, please resubmit your question. Next user, Russell L. Does the site planner support multi-level? I think we got that one addressed already. Another one from Russell L. and a completely random question. Is there a way to disable the link light on a local controller?
So that's the first time I've heard that request. It is not supported. So if you plug in an Ethernet cable, it will light up the port on the controller. You can adjust the light on top, but not the link light. But go ahead and make a feature request. If we get enough demand for it, we can definitely turn that off.
Cool. Looks like our user Kobe is also from Wisconsin. We have to connect you two maybe at one point,
Awesome.
Keith. Let's keep going through here. Question from our friend Todd, actually. Keefe, of Alta's existing products, which ones interest you the most? What kind of products would you like them to work on next? Great question.
Wow. Put me on the spot here.
Yeah.
You know,
You in Las Vegas, Todd.
yeah. Which ones interest me the most? Well, I think I mentioned the 48 port switch, and then obviously the on-wall unit is a game changer for what we do. So I'm very excited about that. As far as what I'd like to see work on, obviously a Wi-Fi 7 on-wall is going to be needed by us within the next year or so, as property owners and clients demand Wi-Fi 7 performance. Other products, maybe a beefier router, the next step up for larger properties with hundreds or thousands of units. I'm not sure the max capability of the current router. I guess that's a question for Jeff. Like, what would you say the max number of units in a building that router would support?
Yeah, I mean, we've done some internal testing, nothing that we've released yet, but dozens of thousands of devices can be handled currently. There are some things that we're working on here and there, like if you have more than a few hundred VLANs, it takes quite a while to configure it, and we're in the process of fixing that. So there are little things like that. As far as the core capability, like the raw performance of the processor itself, it's actually extremely powerful, extremely capable. If we do another model anytime real soon, it would probably be a similar chipset, but with more RAM, more storage, maybe be able to run the controller locally on it, things like that. But as far as the processor itself, it handles, I know, dozens of thousands of hardware offloaded connections.
So I guess the only limiting factor is if you would need more than 10 gig of connectivity to a property.
That is definitely a limitation right now, is if you want more than 10 gig through your WAN or anything like that, it definitely caps out there. Now, you could do something like an SD-WAN potentially. We don't have anything like that right now, but if you had both of your SFP plus ports hooked up and 10 gig each, and you did SD-WAN over that, you could potentially get up to 25 gigabits per second throughput. That is the claimed maximum specification for this chip. So yeah, that just kind of gives you an idea of the capabilities of this chip.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a workhorse. We love that thing. We've got we're seeing the Route 10 deployed on MDU projects, actually in Europe, believe it or not, that have 400 units plus, 500 units plus. And you think about, each unit's got how many client devices. So I'm pretty happy with it so far. Thanks for the question, Keefe and Todd. So great ones. Let's keep going here. Brian, I came here for the carrier offload. Thanks for being here. If you have any questions specific to carrier offload, obviously, please make sure you get them submitted. Maybe they're a little bit further down here on our feed. But Jorge, thanks for coming in from Spain. It is getting late there, so we know it's not easy being here. And then we got Texpresso, another good question for Keefe. Are you deploying more than just APs? Are you finding good use cases for the switches and Route 10 as well?
I mean, yes, our Alta deployments are 100% Alta, with Route 10s, with the switches, with the APs, even a collection of APs, the on walls for in the units, the pros for common areas, and even sometimes the outdoor units if they have like a courtyard or something where they want connectivity to, or a patio or a rooftop deck or bar. So pretty much the whole product suite.
Great. Thanks, Keefe. And thanks, Texpresso, coming in from Idaho. Let's see. I think we've got a couple of repeat questions here. I think this one, yes, Matt, I think we answered that question already, but you've got another one coming up that we'll get to. Next one, user Tato. Is policy-based routing coming to Route 10 anytime soon?
Yeah, there are some capabilities of that in the firmware already if you know how to use the CLI and UCI, but it's not exposed in the user interface quite yet. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have some very straightforward examples and use cases of how to do that for those that don't want to learn the CLI. And most people want to be able to just drag and drop and set things up. So it's a lot easier once it's in the user interface, but it's not quite there yet.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Tato. All right, Matt, here's your question. Will the mapping feature work and feature an ability to put an address in and look one up and build a floor plan? I guess basically, I'm thinking that's probably a Google Maps request, right? Can we bring in a map from Google Maps and do a floor plan based on that?
Yeah, it's not something that will be at the initial launch. And if we get enough demand, we can definitely add it. But yeah, it's not going to be there for the initial launch. You have to upload a PDF. So, I mean, you could go to Google Maps, take a screenshot and upload that because it'll take ping files. That works fine for most cases, but you wouldn't be able to type in the address directly into the floor planner.
That's right.
I think that'd be a great feature, especially for people doing outdoor Wi-Fi networks, to just bring up the map and be able to place an AP.
Yeah, for sure. No, I can definitely see it being very useful.
Yeah, I like that. Matt, thanks for the question and suggestion on a new feature. Next question actually is from Jorge from Spain again. Alta Boost is definitely something interesting and useful to push and present to customers. I have it working in Europe, Spain specifically, but I have a question for Keefe. Have you seen any bottleneck on how many devices can be associated to a particular AP with Alta Boost enabled? Thanks.
So that's probably a better question for Jeff, but I mean, we personally haven't seen any negative performance hits from enabling any kind of carrier offload, and I'm not sure there would be, but I'll leave it to Jeff, the expert.
Yeah, I mean, so it depends on the use cases. Every environment's different. Every site is different, right? But the carrier offload traffic is typically more sporadic and oftentimes less than a normal enterprise access point would be in just generally, right? I mean, if we're just talking generally. So yeah, I mean, you're going to have a little bit less traffic and so you can fit within the maximum specifications of the access point in general. And maybe you could throw a few more devices or, physical users on top of that. But yeah, it just fits within it's just a normal, another Wi-Fi connection. So it's not really that much different. It's just usually a little bit less traffic.
For sure. When we look at our logs, we see carrier offload connections. Some of them dwell a long time, but most of them are very transient. They come and go pretty fast, just a few minutes maybe.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because I think carriers I mean, I will say they kind of like it that way.
Yeah.
They want this to be kind of a band-aid between their cellular network and the existing wireless Wi-Fi infrastructure. They don't want it to necessarily be your go-to connection that you use all the time. And in that case, if it's something you use all the time, they would prefer you to use like a normal PSK or a normal EAP network.
Yep, love it. Great. Thanks, Keefe and Jeff, for the answer. And Jorge, thanks for the question.
Yeah, that sort of relates to how they don't really prefer residential locations because in the mind of the carriers, they feel like you should be on your home Wi-Fi, not a offload network.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Agreed. Thanks for the feedback here. Texpresso out there showing a lot of excellent Wi-Fi knowledge. I would love to see them compete in the point to multi-point space. We have some things in the works there. Hoping that we can share that soon. It's our favorite word here, soon. Not really, but we'd like to. Yeah, it's just watch our press releases, watch social, and the next couple of walls, you may see some more come from us. User Justin Wilson. Justin, good to see you. Hopefully we'll see you in October as well down at WISPA Palooza. Running the controller on the on-prem router would be cool for MDUs. Love the feedback. User Russell L. Texpresso, definitely. I have a couple places where I want some point-to-points. Love to hear that. Don't want to have to use the other guys. We don't want you having to use the other guys either. So let's see. Next question from user Nick Wilson. Someone has asked it, so it might as well be me, unless I've missed an update on the rack mount for the Route 10 PoE switch. I have a new wall-mounted rack network cabinet that's very lonely. Yeah, this has been interesting for us. So it is mass production actually is officially done on those units, and they're moving into channels literally this week. Right? We had some additional manufacturing issues that we didn't love. Our faceplates were a little bowed. We got that cleaned up. We have a very high standard for quality of work, right? And we tried to get that to exactly where we wanted it, by also knowing that everyone was counting on a July delivery date. I know we had a couple users that we were able to take care of, right, with some pre-production samples. But the good news, right, is we've got inventory coming to the United States, Europe, and to our Vietnamese warehouse. Then our distributors will be obviously bringing it into market from there as well. So if you have a very urgent project, right, make sure our sales team knows about it. We'll see if we can't move some things around and get one for you sooner rather than later. But I'd say, you'll see inventory available in the U.S. As we get into September, unfortunately. But again, we've got some units that are available. If you got something that's urgent pressing, we'd love to try and take care of you. Thanks for the question, Nick. I'm glad you asked it. Let's see. Next question from Andrew. Just checking if there's anything on the roadmap for high availability between two Route 10s.
Yeah, so we're definitely starting work on more high availability, more enterprise-like features. For example, BGP. This hopefully answers the next question we'll bring up from Mosa and Shaquille. But BGP is coming up real soon. OSPF, and then we're looking at high availability features hopefully by the end of this year. But it's definitely, we're working on those features right now. So
great, thank you, Andrew. And then yes, Motion, similar question, Route 10 features. Jeff's already touched on that. So thank you for being here. Next question, any chance of allowing for access Alta devices via Bluetooth and the mobile app if, for instance, the device can't access the controller for whatever reason?
I mean, that's an interesting idea. I think we've considered this a while back. The problem is there isn't a lot of bandwidth or capability in the Bluetooth chips that we're using right now, at least in the firmware side. Obviously, we can pull more features in, but we haven't seen a lot of demand for that necessarily. But yeah, I can see where it could be useful if you're in an emergency scenario where you just can't get to the network. You can't get onto the network that the device is on to reach it locally. There may be use cases where that might be useful, but we don't have any plans to do anything like that currently.
I guess I have a related question for the Q&A. Will the network work if APs lose connectivity to the controller? And what features will work and won't work, and for how long will it keep working?
Yeah, great question. So The configuration is actually downloaded to each access point, when they're configured originally from the controller. They don't depend on the controller for almost anything. And that's been, I mean, we've done a lot of this design from scratch to ensure that. So things like captive portal, for example, every access point runs a captive portal web server on the access point itself. Now, there are some considerations with that because it does use a Let's Encrypt certificate. So let's say the access point is offline for more than 3 months. You might actually get the little lock might not work if it's been disconnected because it's unable to renew its certificate. So there are some caveats like that. Obviously, people can click through that if they want to, so it'll still work. But yeah, captive portal, our fast roaming, our 802.11r implementation, we've tried to design everything so that you can actually take away the controller and everything as far as normal connectivity. Obviously, if you have a radius server, you would need to have radius server online. But for the most part, like PSK, open, captive portals, all that stuff does not require the controller to be online in order to function.
And does that, what if the AP is rebooted while the controller is offline? Does it have that state saved inside of it?
Yeah, it does. So it actually, it uses Flash, it stores it securely, and it'll just boot with the same config. It doesn't really make any difference if you reboot it. It'll use the same exact config as when it was originally configured from the controller.
Awesome. That's a great feature to have. I know of some other APs that just completely quit working when they can't talk to the controller. So
yeah, it's not a good feature to have.
Yeah, especially where you have a cloud controller. I mean, most people use our cloud controller. So if you lose internet, you don't want to lose Wi-Fi. I mean, there's a lot of local, LAN applications that people need that LAN. They may not need the internet, but maybe they need just general Wi-Fi to be on the network in order to do their job, right? So, yeah, it's important that all stays up and running. So that's the way we've designed it.
It's awesome. Jordan, thanks for the question. Keefe, you as well. And Jeff, thanks for all the answers. Let's see here. I think we are winding down. Matt, we've talked about the release date on the mapping feature. So we're by the end of the week, early next week, is when we're going to have that out. Let's see. Todd, point to multi-point. Any chance of sneak peek at Palooza, please? TBA, too early to commit to anything. So we'll have to unfortunately leave you hanging there. Feature request on mapping. I missed this one, Justin. Thank you for this. Have the ability to do density in outdoor environments. That's good to know. I know that's something actually Justin does quite a bit. So thank you for that. Let's see. Texpresso, thanks for the plug on AP6 Pros. And that we're running circles around Meraki. I'd love to hear that. That's pretty common feedback, actually. So I'd love to have more people know that. Let's see. Next user, Franklin Gonzalez. How does Alta Labs ensure scalability and redundancy in multi-site deployments? Are seamless failover and load balancing features built into the infrastructure?
Yeah, so I mean, we've talked about a little bit of the features that we have as far as the access points and the switches and the Route 10. They all have the configuration that the controller gives them. It's stored locally, and so regardless of they're connected to the controller right now or not, they'll just work. Now there are some other high availability redundancy features like VRRP that we don't have quite yet on the Route 10, but we do have support for example, LACP. So if you have a redundant links, you can actually run 2 fiber lines between 2 switches, and either of them can go down, or you can do loops, circles, topology on your network to make sure that the network, either of those links can go down, but you're still going to be operational. You can do actually more. I think we support up to 8 links per LACP on our switches right now. So if you really wanted to, you could have 8 different links, guaranteeing that your network is up and stable. So we do have a lot of those features available, but as with anything else, I mean, there's a lot more features that could be available with VRP and redundant routers and things like that we're still working on that we don't have out yet.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Franklin, for the question. Next question from Steve Sprague. Is there an ETA on Wi-Fi 7 wireless access point?
Yeah, so we're really trying hard to pull that into this year, in Q4 this year. Hopefully that happens. If it doesn't, it'll be very early Q1 next year. But yeah, trying as hard as we can to get it in the next few months.
Yeah, if anybody's has any experience with manufacturing, there's like 70 things that all have to line up, and most of them are raw goods suppliers like silicone chipset providers, right? And if we have one shortage on one item, it can throw off our whole schedule. Unfortunately, that's what's happened in our Wi-Fi 7 AP. We've been pushing hard to be in a Q4 deployment, and now, unfortunately, we've had just a few raw goods suppliers that have not been able to meet their deadlines. So that's really pushing us into Q1. But we've got alternatives, and we're trying to bring that in. But manufacturing, again, it is a dance, a ballet almost, where you have to get it exactly right in order to hit your time frames, especially on brand new products, right? Anything that's existing, it's easier because you can build up supply of raw goods and you can start developing a run rate. But anyways, we are just as excited as everybody else to get our Wi-Fi 7 access point out, and we're pushing hard and heavy to make that happen. So thank you, Jeff and Steve, for that one. Let's see. Let's channel planning thing. It looks like we got
I really like Texpresso's comment right there, the channel planning, because going back to what's required in order to have the AP run, even our channel planning does not require the controller. And I don't know if, I mean, we've benchmarked it ourselves, but our channel planner is awesome. It outperforms even some of the AI channel planners that are out there. So if you haven't had a chance to try it out, I definitely recommend that you see how it performs. You do have to give it a little bit of time to run, right? Like it's not going to automatically get everything perfect right off the bat, but you give it a day or so, and it usually will figure something out that works really well.
Yeah, I love it. You know, if you were to talk to our tech support team, for all the calls that come in about slow Wi-Fi speeds, it's generally because the channel planning hasn't had a chance to either kick in yet, or you're not using it, or it's been disabled, right? So with good channel planning, that is the majority of the issues that we see. Once that's done right, speed is unlocked and it's off to the races. So thanks for the comment, Texpresso. Next question. A comment. Matt, don't worry about it. I'd rather you make sure you get your questions answered. You can ask the same question over and over again. It doesn't bother me. Next question from user Kobe Corbett. I do have one question. Some Apple users cannot connect to my main network. Any info on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be dependent on your environment, your configuration. And I'd strongly encourage you to reach out to our support, which we have free support during business hours. And I mean, our support is awesome. I'm sure, I'm fully confident that they can figure out exactly what's going on.
Absolutely. Yep. Thanks for that, Kobe. And please use our support. And for anybody that maybe is with us for the first time, right, it does not cost $1 to talk to our support team. That is a free service. And they are the best tech support team in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Next question from Joe, coming in from Canada. Thanks for being here, Joe. When will Wi-Fi 6 be better than Wi-Fi 7 for deployments? I'm assuming that's a why question, right? Why is Wi-Fi 6 better than Wi-Fi 7 for deployments?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. So, I mean, we've talked about this on previous all calls. We went with the Wi-Fi 6 chipset because it was more entrenched in the industry already. There were a lot of issues, bugs, connectivity issues that had already been resolved. That's the first thing. But even looking into the future, I mean, if you look at some of the quote-unquote Wi-Fi 7 APs that are out there, especially the cheaper ones, they don't even have 6 gigahertz. And a lot of installers, MSPs, aren't even recommending turning on MLO at this point, or until, and it's not just an access point issue, right? There's a lot of client devices that have some major issues with MLO. So at that point, it's like, well, it's a dual band Wi-Fi 7 AP that has MLO disabled. It's pretty much a Wi-Fi 6 AP. So yeah, it's a newer chipset, but there are a lot of reasons that you know, you're good on a Wi-Fi 6 access point moving forward. And you know, we want to get to Wi-Fi 7, we will, but I don't think there's any reason to hold back right now.
Yeah, agreed. Well, just a general statement regarding Wi-Fi 7, right? On a global scale, there are some countries, right, economies, militaries that restrict the use of 6 gigahertz. It's for military and government specifically. And so that closes off entire, markets that can't use Wi-Fi 7 until legislation changes. Kind of, what Keefe mentioned in his work with WISPA and making sure they advocate for us, right? Making sure spectrum's available so we can take advantage of that latest and greatest tech. Also, one of the hurdles that Wi-Fi 7 brings into specifically like the MDU space and AltaPass is the requirement to use WPA3. So that's one thing that we've been advocating for heavily over the last couple of years, including hiring our own consultants, own advocates, right, own lobbyists as we work with IEEE and some other governing bodies to really advocate for some just changing of the governance behind WPA3 and finding some mutual ground, right, that where we can now have a single SSID and multiple passwords that meet WPA3 standards. Currently, Wi-Fi 7, you can't do that, right? Which then everything we've talked about on the call today, from a user experience, customer experience, roaming through an MDU, you sacrifice that using Wi-Fi 7. So do you want the Wi-Fi 7 multi-gigabit speed, or do you want to be able to take your network throughout the entire complex and have a really single, reliable ecosystem? So really good question, Joe. And it's something you definitely have to talk to your customers about, right? We would suggest you still use our Wi-Fi 6 access points until we can get the Wi-Fi 7, our Wi-Fi 7 out, and we get WPA3 figured out with AltaPass. Then at that point, it's going to be a money solution. But Jeff or Keefe, anything you want to add to WPA3 specifically, or?
No, we're on the same boat. We need to wait until, PPSK and AltaPass can work with WPA3. Because we definitely don't want to deviate from the single SSID solution that, our clients like. So.
Yeah, and it's not just an AltaPass thing. I mean, the entire industry is fumbling, trying to figure out other workarounds that may or may not be actually user-friendly. So, when we do something, we want to make sure it works well. So that's why we just recommend PPSK with WPA2 right now, because it's the only thing that's actually supported.
Yep, that's great. Joe, thank you for that question. And Keefe and Jeff, thank you for your input as well. Lots of good feedback on product. We're over time now, so I'm going to skip through a lot of this, but thank you all for your support and your feedback. Techspresso mentioned one of the major benefits of Wi-Fi 7 is that 4096 QAM, and that is available in our AP6 Pros anyways. So another good reason to use that.
Good point.
Next question from Hank Nordstrom Jr. Will the Route 10 possibly have a zone-based firewall option in the future?
Yeah, I mean, this has been brought up before. It's the firewall itself is zone-based at a low level, right? So it wouldn't be difficult for us to extend that. We don't have the user interface for it yet, but we would like to get there at some point.
Very good. Thanks, Jeff.
If you know how to use UCI, you can already use it.
Perfect. Thanks for the question, Hank. Next question from Justin. Is Wi-Fi 7 finally ratified?
Not that I know of. So yeah, it's one of those funny things, I think Wi-Fi 5 was a turning point in the Wi-Fi industry. You could finally get multiple hundreds of megabits per second. And up until that point, you were lucky to get 50 or 60 megabits a second. So I think we've gotten to the point where things are finally fast enough. You can also, there's a lot of features of Wi-Fi 6 that they weren't really focused on maximum performance of Wi-Fi in general. They were more focused on higher density Wi-Fi, right? So now you have the ability to do fast speeds with Wi-Fi 5. You have the ability to do higher density with Wi-Fi 6. And it's really a great solution that's carried us for many years now. And obviously Wi-Fi 7 brings a lot of other features that are great. But it takes longer for those to be ratified because I think they're getting more and more complicated, especially as you get into, like, people are talking about Wi-Fi 8 and coordinating between multiple APs and sharing a connection and MLO. It gets to a point where it's a lot more complicated, and so implementing it is more difficult.
Yeah, I'm just excited for Wi-Fi 7 so I can finally put to bed customer service calls where they say, we're buying gigabit internet. Why can't I get gigabit speeds over Wi-Fi?
Well, in Wi-Fi 7, I mean, spoiler alert, isn't going to magically fix that either. I mean, if you're not within 20 feet of the AP, you're not going to get gigabit. So yeah, it just depends on your use case, your environment. There are a lot of variables when you're talking about providing gigabit Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and it's, there's a lot of other carriers, right, that have done a lot of really good work advertising, what Wi-Fi 7 is capable of. Now, granted, it's expensive. You see some of those towers that are $2,000 or $3,000. So when you see, an Alta solution come in, it's going to be nowhere near that price. It'll work even better than what's in the market. But yeah, to your point, it's all perception, right? Smoke and mirrors until actually somebody gets it in their hands, gets it in their environment, and has a chance to really see what Wi-Fi 7 is capable of. Which we're excited about. We definitely don't want to say anything to the contrary. But I think there's a lot of hype around that, right? And once people actually realize what it is, they will probably not be super happy the fact they just spent $3,000 on a set of a particular brand's Wi-Fi 7 solution. But
it's kind of like 5G.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's a really good point.
5G was like 95% marketing, 5% technology.
Yep. So true. Very, very true. Okay. Well, actually, no, we got one more question and Justin, thank you for that question, by the way. Coming in from Jamaica, Luke Fong, thank you for being here again. When will we have geo-blocking in Route 10?
Yeah, so hopefully within the next month. We've been working on that for a while. We aren't going to do it the same way. I mean, some other vendors have implemented it in using the IDS IPS. We aren't going to do it that way. It just doesn't, not very scalable and as reliable as we want it. So yeah, it's going to be done a different way, but it'll have the same functionality. You'll be able to block countries. And not just that. I mean, there are other lists. So not just country lists, but the ability to block, malware sites, malicious sites, spyware. It'll have a lot more options that are available to, have better security and protect your network.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for the question, Luke. Thanks for the answer, Jeff. Next question from Les Everett, and this looks like the last one. Route 10 and 8-port switch get hot. At what temps does that start to cause issues?
I mean, it depends on your environment. There are a lot of variables. So what's shown in the user interface is the temperature of the chip itself, right, on the inside. So it's not going to tell you the temperature of the ambient temperature outside or anything like that. What you do want to avoid, for example, are putting it in like cases where there's no ventilation at all, where the air doesn't circulate, things like that. Because even though the temperature might not be as high, that stale air isn't moving, and so it actually causes other problems. So if you can put it in an open air environment, you're going to be a lot better off in general. I mean, we've had people do all sorts of things, put fans on our devices, replace fans in the switches and things like that. There are a lot of options. A lot of these might void your warranty. But we do claim, as far as an open air ambient temperature environment, that you can meet our specs that are in the data sheets. So yeah, I can't give you like a specific number of when you're going to have a problem. I would say, once you hit 180 or 190 on the chip in the UI, it's probably too hot. But yeah, should be okay well before that.
Yeah, generally, if you look at our data sheets, there are suggested environmental temperature ratings, ambient temperature ratings, where you're operating the products in. If you're operating outside of that, you're going to have problems. If you're inside of that and you still see problems, yeah, let's reach out to our support team. Because generally, right, we shouldn't see issues as long as the specs are being followed. So, great question, Les. Thank you for that. I have actually a few more sneak in. The question from Hank Kobe, will you be doing more configuration video, how-to videos and best practices? Short answer to that is absolutely. We try to get those out as soon as we can when new features are out. We've done that with the logging feature, right, that came out. We'll do some how-tos on the video, or excuse me, on the site planner. And then, yeah, we'll have some additional best practices coming out. We're going to also be doing kind of an entire comprehensive product lineup video. We're tentatively calling it Alta Base Camp, right? where you'll be able to learn more about all of our products and the features that are inside of that. But obviously the entire portfolio, that's a little bit of a larger lift that our marketing team is working on right now. So more to come in that regard. Thank you, Hank, for the question. Another comment from Talk About Wi-Fi. It's not about speed. We need the 6 gigahertz band for dense areas. I think we all agree with you for sure.
And I will say, yeah, it is important for dense areas, but if you look at like 90% of larger networks, even networks where there's a lot of people on the Wi-Fi, 5 gigahertz can usually do the job. I think there's a very small percentage of networks where you're so dense that 5 gigahertz absolutely won't cover it. And it does depend on like how much bandwidth you want, right? Like if you're aiming for 50 megabits versus like 200 or 300, it's going to be a very different discussion.
Yep, great points. Thanks, guys. And then finally, Luke, yes, we will get a video on the rack mount deployment for sure. Make sure that it's easy to understand how to use. All right, I think that is it. Want to, again, say thank you for all the questions that were submitted there. If we missed one, or if you're watching this afterwards, right, and you don't get a chance to support your questions, we will love to have you send an email into sales@alta.inc, and we'll get you your questions answered just as soon as we can. Let me jump to sharing my screen. Let's get to the giveaway portion of this. We'll start with a t-shirt, then we'll move on to the hat, and then finally we'll give out the AP6W. Then we'll wrap up our call here. Make sure I don't goof this up here. All right. So again, if you missed this, we will do these in future Alta Labs live events, right? Just email social@alta.inc with your first and your last name. Unfortunately, the drawing is closed for today, but next month we will do it again. So again, we'll start by giving away our shirt first. We'll go ahead and click the spin and see who our winner is. A little gamification here, a little free swag. Nobody hates that. Looks like user Oran Taskin. Congratulations. Landon will be in touch with you on how to get that t-shirt out to you. Let's go ahead and remove him, and now we'll give away our hat. Who will it be? Hey, Matthew, congratulations. Looks like that's you. You get the free hat, Alta Labs branded hat. We find the grand prize, brand new AP6W. And it is Chuck Hogg. Congratulations, Chuck. Thanks for being here. For everyone, thank you seriously for your time. We appreciate you being here and engaging with us and being a part of the Alta Labs community. And especially thank you for our special guest, Keefe, coming all the way in from Wisconsin, taking an hour and a half out of his day to be with us and sharing some of his insights and all about his business.
Yes. Thanks for having me. Mm-hmm. And I'd just like to add, we'd love to see everybody at WISPA Palooza. So if you are an ISP or you're a broadband provider for MDUs or even an MSP who does a lot of wireless, come to the show. You'll see Alta, you'll see tons of other vendor members, and you'll learn a lot. Now, the show's about learning and seeing the latest and greatest technologies, and it's a great time. That's in October.
Agreed. Yeah, we found it super valuable to be there, right? We don't currently have any point-to-point stuff, but it's coming. And to Todd's point, hopefully we get a tease at WISPA Palooza. But to Keith's point at the beginning of the call, right? Fiber here to stay. Wireless ISPs here to stay. Especially in the United States, there's a lot of ground that it's going to be really hard, if not impossible, to get fiber to. So, point-to-point, point-to-multi-point is a very big deal, and WISPA Palooza is a great place to come and learn about the industry, learn how potentially you can come in and incorporate it into your business, right? So before we sign off, anything else, Keith, that you'd like to mention, or Jeff, anything else you'd like to talk about?
Go ahead, Keith.
I'm good.
All right. Well, I just want to reiterate, thank you everybody for supporting us, for joining us. We really love interacting with you, working with you, and helping you with your IT needs.
Absolutely. The same thing. Thank you for your time, and we will be announcing the next all call for September here in just the next couple of weeks. So watch your newsletters, emails, even our social media. But until then, thank you all, and have a wonderful week.